Okay, thank you very much. My name is Mika Shimizu from Kyoto University, Associate Professor of Interdisciplinary Program. The keynote speaker has already mentioned about the complexities and interlinkages of the SDGs, and also the existing limitation of the science research role. I want to address that part a little bit more from the public policy and resilience perspective as a policy researcher. So we already know that those SDGs 70 has 70 goals and 169 targets, which are very critically interconnected in complex ways. Which means not only the issue linkages, but also we need to think about the related risks and then stakeholders and communities. Which means the economic and social aspect is also interrelated, interconnected in complex ways. And then the state of the complexities and relating uncertainty in a modern risk society, that is not fixed. And the problem is that that complexities and then risk natures are dramatically changing in scope and severity and impact. So given that background, the questions here I would like to address, what a policy gap from public policy views, and how resilience is relevant. And what is resilience approach is, and how it is interlinked with SDGs, and how resilience approach can be applied to cases. I'd like to provide the existing policy gaps, 3 gaps. The first one, the lack of the policy tools. Actually, we already know the complexities and uncertainties in implementing those SDGs. But what are the policy tools? The International Council for Science, the key for that is SDG 16, good governance, and SDG 17, means of implementation. But what are the good governance? What are the means of implementation? Those are the, very critical questions. And then, overall, the scientific communities has pointed out systems approach is a key, but how systems approach are linked with implementation of SDGs. And the second policy gap, relating to the first one, although the systems approach are interrelated with the concept of resilience, actually, the word of resilience in SDGs are incorporated very sporadically. For example, the major goal 9, it says build resilient infrastructure, and goal 11, it says make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Other targets also include the in different areas the word of resilience. But actually the systems approach is very much related to resilience. I don't go into the details of the systems approach and resilience relationship, but basically it has been developed by different fields of areas like engineering, ecology field. And now the systems approach and resilience kind of applied to the public policy. And then basically the systems approach provide the views of the structure of the systems approach and systems elements, how those systems are related, how the boundary areas of the systems are interlinked. Those kind of the ideas are very much related to the resilience. And the policy gap, third policy gaps. SDG 17 emphasize the need for policy coherence and multi-stakeholder partnerships, which are actually very much closely related to resilience. But the problem is that the SDG doesn't have a definition for resilience and does not link the resilience with the systems approach concept. So policy gaps, those three policy gaps are very much related, but they are addressed sporadically and or separately in the current policy discussion or in the practical fields too. So what is a system approach based on what is the resilience approach based on systems approach? Well, there are different resilience frameworks, but I'm talking about kind of overarching resilience framework, which is, so here resilience in resilience approach refers to the capacity of a system, be it an individual, forest, or city, to deal with the change and continue to develop. Based on the idea, I kind of developed the concept framework for resilience-based public policy or resilience-based operational approach. And then, but the other researchers also kind of proposing that the resilience thinking approach, resilience thinking-based approach. I think the common things for those resilience-based or resilience approach is to incorporate the systems approach into the problem solving for sustainable or disaster management issues. So from my point of view, well, this is my based on my resilience in public policy research. I think there are two major structures of the resilience which can be contributed to the implementation of the SDGs. The first one is a continuum of resilience. And then for different stakeholders and institutions and systems. And the other one is the components of resilience-based operational approach. So major thing for the upper diagram is that although we tend to talk about the different resilience at different areas, like a social resilience in our community, or resilience in organizations, or resilience in natural system or ecology system. But the main point for this diagram is the resilience among those systems should be linked. Otherwise, even resilience policy or resilience strategies which are not linked with communities or individual, or which are not linked with the natural system, those kind of the resilience policy kind of tend to be meaningless. And then other side, the components of resilience-based operational approach provides a different specific views to create resilience. So we tend to focus on just linkages, but also we need to see the process or temporal and more scalable views are needed. So I apply this kind of the resilience approach to the SDGs from the structural views. And I don't go into the details for this, but I kind of mapped which SDGs cover which areas. And this is a kind of overview of that application. One thing I can say is that through these views, we can see the integrated areas, integrated views of the systems and boundaries and their relationships. So, for example, even we tend just to focus on the sea or forest field, but in focusing on those areas, we need to link those areas, the community and individual levels. If those linkages are addressed or take into consideration, we cannot more implementations or of the SDGs are possible. And then for operational perspective, unfortunately, only SDG 17 applied address the 17th address the partnerships of the stakeholders, but without more broad or overarching views of the areas like time and process scale, the partnership just could be just separate from other SDGs, but to include those kind of the areas into different SDGs, we need to see more broad areas with this resilience-based public systems approach. Well, because of the time, I don't go into the detail, but I focused on the New York City case. they got the severe hurricane, which is Hurricane Sandy 2012. But before and after the Hurricane Sandy, they are implementing the different kind of the resilience policy approach. And then also their problem is not only the climate change and then sea level rise, but also that the poverty and different kind of economic and social problems. But there is no silver bullet, but they are kind of incorporating the components I mentioned, like by introducing resilience approach. And then now they are getting better disaster recovery from the Hurricane Sandy. Also, they are addressing that the reduced GHS greenhouse gases. And then also now they are having lower poverty level. Now they are getting that the decline from the poverty rate declined from the 18.9 to 0% in 2017, but it's still ongoing. But we can see that how resilience kind of interlinked with their social change and system change in New York. Okay, so. So my conclusion for a policy implementation implication is that we need to highlight not only SDGs issue linkages, but also linkages among natural, social, and human system and boundaries. And then structured resilience approach based on systems approach enables integrated and systemic approach in implementing SDGs. And resilience approach should be embedded in different SDGs program or project at different levels for the continuum of the resilience of the systems. Thank you very much.